Welcome to a brand new video. It's Tuesday, the 22nd of April. We'll jump right into it just before New York session officially begins. We are having moves already, but we are waiting for more development as always. So, touching on your JPY from last week, we've just been in this crazy fall range here. Not even that bad, but we have been ranging here, so nothing much on EJ really to go with. From last week, we've just been bouncing up and down. So, coming into today, London had it pushed down. We had this tiny break of structure right here. Usually, I'm not a fan of a break where the next candle closes above where the supposed break is, right? Usually, I'm not a fan of that because most of the time it'll just come back in, more especially considering this was within a range or is still within a range, because it could just step out a little bit here, but if you look at the bigger scale of things, on the 4 hour we don't, for example, we just don't have much of a move down. We just start trickling back up into here, maybe sweep this, trickle down, and just keep playing in there, right? But for now, we do have this tiny break. We had this tiny break of structure here. We had this tiny break of structure right here, and then what we wanted to see was a proper change of character here, where the market really shifts after here, where you see a big push into here and then look for something within here. That would have made a little bit more sense, but seeing as that we only have like tiny sweep of liquidity here, the better play probably is to, as what it did now, just let it play out, and it's selling a little bit more. So going into New York, this tiny 15-minute zone, maybe look for a sell within here just to see how the market lines up. If it comes in with a lot of momentum, this is a tiny zone, so I don't expect it to hold if it comes in with a lot of momentum. But if we do see a strong liquidation into here, then we could have a tiny bit of a play. Now, moving on to EU. On EU, we had the break of structure yesterday. Market switching bullish, or continuing bullish rather. Then with it continuing bullish, we're looking to play the pullback into here. So to play pullbacks, we are more conservative, so we waited for the internal structure to break, and then we have a 15-minute internal structure break right there. Then now look to follow this immediate order flow lower, because there isn't much in terms of POIs, strong POIs in the way of just following the order flow back down here into this daily zone, 4-hour pivots in here, but just into this general area. So what I will be looking for is probably a risk entry on here, but I think I'd play a more of a confirmation trade, seeing as that this on the break here, the liquidity sweep on the break, so it's a sweep flip. So this sweep flip could be enough to maybe sweep the liquidity in here. So rather than just take the immediate M15-minute risk trade, wait for a little bit more confirmation, which is a strong liquidation on the lower time frame, which is the M5. So I think for immediate plays, we're just looking to see what happens into here and then just follow this immediate order flow on EU. GU, almost the same price action as EU, pretty much identical, but the break of this low is not as convincing as you can see as on EU, where it's a clear break lower on the internal. But following this reaction from here, this is the mitigation and then a flip. Following this flip here, maybe we can follow the order flow from here as well going down, but I prefer the price action on EU, because on EU it is a little bit clearer on the idea that we're trying to play. So this can work out as well. There is no reason for this not to work out. It is also coming from mitigating this zone in here, so we do want to be a little bit more careful than usual. USD CAD a little bit disappointing this morning because picture perfect trade comes in. You have your internal structure bullish right here. It comes in to test the zones in here, or this pivot, this area in general here. You have the test, comes in a test. You have the immediate order flow showing bullish signs. You get your chart here. You're looking for it to come back into this pivot POI right here and then ride the wave up. Unfortunately, you do not get that, which is okay, but for now, within this 4-hour zone, we'll wait for the internal to switch back bearish to start looking for continuations down with the swing. So for now, it's monitoring as per usual, but I think the goal for this week is to be present if ever there is a winner. Like last week, we were not present for what could have potentially been a winner, so just try to be more present for the winners, because we were here for the losses. Let's be here for the winners as well. Patience. Don't make mistakes, or like make minimal mistakes, and then we just are ready to execute whenever a picture perfect trade presents itself. So yeah, this will be it for New York, or just a look before New York officially starts, and then we'll check back in at the end of the day. Thank you. Have a good trading day, and let's move. Welcome to the end of the day. Quick little recap. Nothing much. Euro JPY had a chunk on the 4-hour. As I thought before, probably will drizzle up, maybe into this zone right here, right? Once it comes into this zone, we probably should be ready to follow this down, right? M15 as well, we did have an internal break of structure up, so probably look to follow the internal into here, and potentially, because this is like still like sort of ranging for me, even though we did get a break of structure, maybe look to sell in the extremes over here. But I think EJ, just for now, we let it play out, however, and just move away from this correctiveness. Then we look to find better setups. Moving on to EURUSD. As of current, we did have a break of structure earlier right there, 15-minute EVAs. We had a break of structure right there, and then we had the market come into this 15-minute zone. There was a potential setup in there for counter swing plus pro internal, right? This I did not take because as you can see in there, there was potential for a good M5 setup in there. I did not take this one because I was looking at GU at the time. They were setting up pretty similar, but the setup on GU for me was looking better in terms of the strong liquidation into this M15 POI compared to this EU one, where you probably the only liquidation you had was this inside bar on the M5, which I wasn't too happy about, and my sole focus was on GU, which had the better PA, right? In my opinion, even though the internal breakout structure here on EU was better compared to GU, the liquidation into this M15 for me was not the best, and I couldn't also take the risk entry because it did switch the 15-minute did switch slightly bullish with the chalk in here coming into the zone, so I was looking for a strong liquidation. And on GU, as you can see right here, this was the idea that I had. We come into this zone, right? We didn't have the best breakout structure right there, but the liquidation coming into this was pretty good with the M5 liquidation, but I did not get the entry requirement anywhere within here until it did break out of the zone, at which point I did not follow it anymore because the trade is invalidated basically. So it played out better on EU compared to GU, but the idea was a good idea in terms of what we're looking for, but the execution just wasn't there, which is okay because the experience counts. Where the more setups you see like this, the better you'll get at finding them and spotting them on time and executing them as time goes. But we couldn't execute on GU right there, but it's okay. Alright, broke out the zone, invalidating the trade, so there's no need to worry about that one. Tomorrow we'll probably just look to come into here and then keep selling to follow the pullback, because we did have an M15 breakout structure up, so we're just looking for a pullback right here. And to close it off with USD CAD, when I touched on it earlier, I was looking for the entry on this M15 here. Unfortunately, we did not get it at the time during London. It went up, created an I-boss right there, came back down into the zone I was speaking about. But looking at my entry criteria, it really didn't meet the high probability that I'm looking for, because heavy momentum coming down, then I would have doubts on the zone holding. At least I would want to see a shift in momentum where you start to see some bullish pressure coming in and then look to follow the buys. So for tomorrow, we'll be looking for the buys into this 4 hour. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll just check back in for London tomorrow.